So I'll go through NXT, and I'll be honest with you from the off here, Carl. This is probably one of the better NXTs I've seen in a while, and the ratings will reflect that. So we kick straight off with a triple threat match with Drake Maverick, Kushida, and Jake Atlas, and this is for the interim Cruiserweight Championship tournament, and this is to decide who will go into the final against El Hijo del Fantasma. Dale? I don't know. I hope I've said it right somewhere. And it was a really good match, and I'm not going to obviously try and harp on too much about again, we're trying to keep it lean. So the interesting part in this one for me was they done a couple of like mad spots, but it ended with this sort of crazy finish where Kushida got the Sakuraba lock, I hope I pronounced that right too, on Atlas. But at the same time, Maverick managed to sort of crawl over and get the pin, and it ended with this mad sort of finish where the ref counted the pin, but at the same time Atlas was tapping, so you could argue that Kushida actually won, but the win went to Maverick at the time. And then we cut to a bit of a backstage promo where Maverick's showing the footage of him of Atlas tapping while he was getting the pin, and he's very much like basically he's happy to have the match again. You know, he doesn't want to try and argue a dodgy finish or anything like that. He'll happily go for it again. And then we see Kushida come along and he's saying, basically, you know, we're all fighting for the title. We're all fighting for the job. You go and win this. And sort of gives him the sort of, you know, the nod to take the victory and go forward against Phantasma. So we're going full finish with this storyline with Maverick. So Maverick is now going to go into the final match against El Hijo del Fantasma. What did you make of this match, Cole?
Yeah, I thought it was really good. It's just interesting, isn't it? This whole Maverick thing. Like, I've been a very firm believer that, like, no, it's not a work. He has been fired and blah 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 blah. But they are literally taking it down to, you know, the wire, really, with it, aren't they? I think
they're running a massive risk here. You know, I think we're getting to a point now where if he doesn't win, people are going to be pissed off, especially because the finale now is Phantasma versus Maverick. Who are people more invested in? You know, it's a really risky move to take if they don't give him the win, but at the same time, they released him. So I don't know. I mean, we've seen quite recently with Gulak that, you know, these things aren't set in stone. So maybe they did, like you say, they did release him, but that might not stick now because he's certainly built himself up in this tournament. But you know, fantastic match. I was even intrigued. You know, I'm never usually a fan of screwy finishes, but I even like the way they put that together. You know, they kept Kushida, not so much Atlas, who basically lost twice in one match, but they kept Kushida looking awesome and you know, showing some boss respect there to Maverick at the end. So I think Maverick even said to him in the promo, you know, if he does win, you know, he's gonna, his first defense he'll happily be against Kushida. So I think they're potentially setting that feud up as well for the future.
Yeah, I think it's like it's shenanigans done right, and
exactly,
you know, the whole kind of respect aspect of it there between them, and if you know, if Drake does go on to win it, to give him the first title shot and stuff like that, it's just a nice little touch. It kind of, I don't know, it just furthers the character work, and it's not something we get to see a lot with NXT or, you know, WWE in general. So I was quite big on it.
Yeah. No, I think I'm looking forward to seeing what comes of it all, I must admit. Now the next match was, I don't know, not sure how I feel about this, the way they're building this character, but we had Candice LeRae and Johnny Gargano come out, and he's now starting to do an invitational because he wants to sort of put over young talents or help sort of young talent out. But then as a match with Adrian Alanis with a, you know, embarrassingly quick tap out. So, you know, making it quite clear that he's not here to help the young talent out. On one side of it, I'm like, I really like the way they've done it in the sense of like, this is a squash, but a good squash in a sense of like, it's helping, not helping the person who got squashed, but it's helping his character because there's a reason he's going up against an unknown jobber and he's doing it in such a scumbag way. But I'm just not sure how I feel about the how convincing Gargano is as a heel. You know what I mean? I think we've touched on it before, but I'm still not overly keen on it. That being said, we followed it up with like a bit of a, I don't know, backstage, not even a backstage thing, but we followed it up with a video, Keith Lee and Mia Yim, Antigua Knox actually turning up, they're having dinner and basically mocking LeRae and Gargano for being so sort of arrogant and self-involved. So they're still sort of building towards those matches, but I don't know, I feel like it was a good way of doing the squash, but I'm just not overly convinced on Gargano just yet.
Yeah, do you know what? I was very distracted during this match because I just kept thinking of this Adrian Alanis as like Roman Reigns Jr. Like he literally looked like the little spit of him. He had like the double-barreled, Roman Reigns, Adrian Alanis. I don't know, like literally the guy was I just was so distracted by it. But yeah, like look,
Maybe that's what they're doing, in case you need a spare Roman.
maybe we don't know if he's going to come back, do we? But yeah, I don't know. Gargano, I'm not big on him as a heel, and the whole Candice LeRae thing as well. Like yeah, it's fine, but yeah, I don't know. And I actually didn't the little promo package with Keith Lee and his bitches like chatting about. I mean, I feel like that damaged Keith Lee a bit for me.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I weren't massive on that. Like, I've not seen a lot of that sort of thing with Keith Lee. He's usually one to come out and have a match or have a face-to-face. It didn't feel in keeping with his character, I suppose. But I think they were just sort of loosely trying to keep that alive because this match had fuck all to do with it. Do you know what I mean? But it happened. It was okay. Speaking of it happened and it was okay, the next match was I did like this week, I promise. We had your favourite creative wrestler, Shotzi Blackheart, versus Raquel Gonzalez.
Well, she'd obviously been fucking dabbling with creative move as well, hasn't she, in this one, because she fucking nearly died.
She did, yeah. That was a messy spot. But do you not think this match as a whole was very fucking messy anyway? So we had Tegan Knox in Shotzi's corner. We had Dakota Kai in Gonzalez's corner. Then we had Candice LeRae confronting Tegan Knox and causing this confusion, allowing Kai to interfere to get Gonzalez the win. And I lose track of who was who and what was what. And like you say, we had this very worrying spot from Shotzi. So I know what they're doing, and we even had this backstage thing where LeRae's challenged Mia Yim to a match next week. So they're building that up. But again, very fucking messy for me. I weren't really big on this match.
Same. Thought it was really hard to follow. There was just too much going on with like the people who weren't involved in the match. Like the two of them didn't really get a chance to just have the focus. And then obviously Shotzi nearly kills herself trying to do some weird fucking coffin drop that she just proper over-egged. Do you know what I mean? That's scary shit.
Over-egged.
But yeah, I don't know. It was very much just like meh. Considering that she nearly died for the cause, and it's like, well, if you're going to pick something to die for, don't pick that match.
I know, yeah. That's a fair point. Like, we've seen, like, spots go wrong before in massive matches, and they just sort of helped, in some senses, to build them as a badass, but this was just such a weak match anyway, or a confusing match, or a messy match. It's not really the one to do that kind of shit on. But we'll move on to a really good match. I dare say getting close to the match of the night for me. We had Rhea Ripley and Io Shirai versus Charlotte Flair and Chelsea Green. Now, this is our weekly dose of Charlotte, I'll be honest, and I'm not normally a fan, but I think Rhea, Io, and Charlotte did a fantastic job of putting Chelsea Green over as someone who can hang with them, because she is the greenest one there.
No pun intended?
No, that was totally intended. But no, and Chelsea Green's definitely got something about her. She's really good, but she looked phenomenal in this match, to be fair. And she had a lot of time in the ring, and she looked brilliant amongst them. She could really hang with them. I could see her getting on the main roster soon enough, to be honest. But it's a really enjoyable match all around. And yeah, what I didn't get was the sort of slightly dodgy finish, because we see basically we had Chelsea Green sort of sacrificing herself for Charlotte, which again you could say that's like a respect thing, maybe, I don't know. But she took it was a springboard dropkick from Io, and she sort of shoved Charlotte out the way and took that move. But then we see this dodgy finish from Charlotte, who got the pin, but sort of put her feet up on the ropes to make sure she got the pin, which I was surprised they did that with Charlotte, especially for someone who on the previous SmackDown was like almost giving Bayley shit for a dodgy finish. So I was like, well, you're not above dodgy finishes, then, are you? But hey ho.
That's the problem when she's on all three shows and she's playing a different character on each to a degree, because even though she's the queen or whatever, there's like she goes up against a heel on one, but then she is the heel on the others, and it's like it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't really gel together.
I think that's sort of the problem, is like she's a heel, but she wasn't really the heel against Bayley. So yeah, but when Bayley took I can't remember, did she pull the tights or grab the rope? But Bayley done a bit of a similar thing on SmackDown, and no words were said. But Charlotte was very like, oh yeah, you have to do that to beat me. But she's had to do that to win this match. So it seems an odd finish to give Charlotte, especially because they're always big on making it look strong and giving her the solid win. And this was a bit of a ropey finish. Another good pun there for you, Carl. But again, that's probably my only negative is the slightly strange finish. All in all, I thoroughly enjoyed this match. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I thought it was fine for what it was. I was surprised that it was Chelsea Green that he kind of gave the spot to as the tag team partner. But similar to what you said, she did a really good had a really good showing from her. So
and what do you make of Chelsea Green in general?
Yeah, I think she's fine. I think she's still kind of trying to figure out a character, isn't she?
Is she a bit like Liv Morgan, yeah?
She's just like most girls her age. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that we will see her on the main roster that soon, but I can definitely see as they start to move some of the other girls across eventually, like Rhea Ripley and stuff like that. I could see her kind of being in like the main event women's picture.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, yeah, I'll have to agree with you on that because I was high on this match, but obviously when we haven't had the likes of Rhea Ripley go over yet, you make a logical point there.
Yeah, but I thought the match itself, it was no, it was fine. It was okay. Just too much Charlotte.
Yeah, well, we've got to get used to this. Is the status quo now, Carl? All Charlotte all the time. All Charlotte wrestling. Right, but we'll move on nevertheless. So we cut to a bit of a segment there with Adam Cole trying to get Fishman and Strong a shot at the tag team titles, which ultimately led to Regal sort of informing Cole that he's going to be up against the Velveteen Dream at TakeOver in your house, and that this will take place in a secret location again for some fucking reason. Don't know why they keep doing that. But I don't know if you felt the same way. But the sort of thinking like if Dream wins or doesn't win the match, he'll never get another shot at the title. Does that not remind you of any promotion or any particular person?
Does ring a couple of bells. Who could it be?
Seems like a really odd thing to do. Like they're just mirroring the Cody World Championship thing. I know it's only over the NXT title, but this is the promotion they're on, so he's not allowed another shot at the biggest title. That sounds a lot like AEW. Not sure what the purpose was in mimicking that, to be honest.
I think for me, it probably indicates that one of them's going across to the main roster.
It's got to be Cole. He's been NXT champ for like 742 years now. Surely he's sort of done with the title. They've got to give it someone else now.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting because where does Adam Cole fit in the main roster?
He's going to be Seth Rollins' new disciple.
Is he secretly Dominic? What?
Yeah, I take your point. It's where could he end up in that? I really don't know. I'm not sure where you put him in. Or you could just do exactly what they're doing with Matt Riddle and go, he's going to be on this show now, and have no purpose at all for it, which I'll discuss later on. But yeah, I don't know. Be an interesting one to see. This whole stake of like you can never go for the title again. It worked with the Cody thing in a sense because it was more them getting the message across that Cody's long in the tooth and he's one of the founders of the company, but it's not all about giving them all the accolades. Admittedly, he now holds one of the accolades, but that wasn't what it was all about. You know what I mean? So I kind of got it, but here it just feels like they're copying the same thing.
Yeah, definitely got them vibes.
Yeah. Now another good squash as far as I'm concerned. We had Tommaso Ciampa take on Leon Ruff, and the reason I like this squash is because Leon Ruff was the debut opponent for Karrion Kross. So Karrion squashed him, and then Tommaso, almost proven a point, has squashed him just as fiercely and just as quick, if not quicker. And then we obviously end with Karrion appearing on the Titantron and basically just sort of amping up their match against each other. But a squash match and a quick squash match, but I actually like the idea that he's made a point of going after the same person to go, yeah, you're not shit hot just because you turned up and squashed this fella. Anyone could do that.
Yeah, I suppose it was a different take on it, wasn't it, by having it be their opponent's previous kind of squash as well, as being a random jobber.
Whenever there's something more to it, I think it's better than just having like Sheamus, who just come out and squash random people every week until they decided what they wanted to do with them. Just felt really stupid. But this kind of had a purpose, so I can work with it. Do you know what I mean? Squashes are useful when they have a purpose,
Yeah, I think they're also useful when water simply won't do.
That's true. Yeah, get your squash today, WWE. And then we move on to the main event of the night, which featured an unnecessary Kurt Angle. I'm sorry, Kurt, I love you and all, but I other than being the ref, I have no idea what this was for. They didn't really fixate on it all too much, and then after that, it could have been any ref at all. So don't know, was it just to get people watching it because they didn't really know both of the names? I really don't know. What did you make of the guest ref call? Because I got nothing out of that.
There's literally no point in it, was there? I think it must have just been used to get eyeballs on the show, I think.
Yeah, and speaking of, and you could argue the copy in UFC, so I don't want to cause any sort of disagreement here. But they done a tail of the tape. What did you make of that, Gal? Because that felt again another thing that the copy in AEW. Because AEW, all right, you could say UFC do this, but UFC have always done it. AEW started doing it for theirs, and now lo and behold, NXT have copied that little gimmick too. So they're going for the tail of the tape. Now you could argue that it was because they're both going into a UFC style match and are former MMA fighters, but I don't know, it felt a little bit again like they've been keeping an eye on the competition.
Yeah, a little bit. I think obviously it does make sense with it being an MMA match to do something like that, but for it to be so close to when they were doing it for the TNT title,
yeah,
I don't know, just kind of scream AEW copy.
Oh, especially because we forgot to mention it for Raw, but every episode this week featured an audience made up of superstars. Not seen that before.
I thought it was weird as well is Owens came out and was like talking about them, like saying these NXT stars or these future of the company, these NXT talents.
Owens did.
And then Michael Cole and everyone else was referring to it as like the performance center people. Like they never used the NXT name.
Oh, right, yeah, sorry, yeah.
You know what I mean? So are they saying, I don't know, I just thought it was weird. Is it Owens that kind of fucked up, or are they trying to shy away from the fact that NXT is still a performance center? Like I know it's meant to be its own brand now, isn't it? But
I'll be honest, I actually took it more of a like the generalizing because they're never going to be 100% of who's in that audience, so it's easier just saying performance center than tagging it specifically to any particular brand or people,
Yeah.
But I could be wrong there. Could have just been a fuck up on well, feels more like it should have been a fuck up on Cole's part because he's historically good at fucking up. Who knows? But yeah, interesting. Again, another beat that and it's one that I'm glad they've copied, to be honest, because I do think it adds something. I think a lot of matches are a lot more enjoyable when they've got an audience to them. Helps you get involved, helps you sort of join the crowd, as it were, doesn't it? But this match as a whole, so we had Matt Riddle versus Tim Thatcher, which was a pit fight, which was like a short cage, half a cage match. That being said, it was a really good match. It was really heavy shoot level sort of match. This, to be honest, it felt almost like they were actually going for it. And they've both been MMA in the past, so maybe I don't know whether WWE would sign off on that. And there certainly were some sort of wrestling things in there with some of the backdrops that Riddle was doing, but some of the shots they were taking and giving to each other were really heavy. To be fair, so there was some proper real good work there between the pair of them.
Oh yeah, I thought the spot where Thatcher's teeth got knocked out was
they have to check him, didn't they?
Yeah, that was quite good. But do you know what? I wasn't aware that Thatcher had any MMA experience. So for me, this felt unbelievable watching it because I was like, well, obviously Riddle will fucking own him because he is an MMA guy. Whereas, to my knowledge, Thatcher wasn't MMA of any kind. So, but if he was, fair dues. I think it's probably me just being too in the business, too much of a bit of a smark to be like, well, obviously it doesn't make sense for Thatcher to win because but I'm not trying to take anything away from the match itself. Like,
no, I think I could be wrong, Carl, but I don't think he was ever like UFC level or anything like that. But I do believe he's got some mixed martial arts background. I'd have to look into that because I think I read it somewhere. But again, I've not cited sources because didn't think you were going to argue with me on it, if I'm honest.
I just sources, man.
But no, I really enjoyed the match. It's the best I've seen Riddle, who is normally just a fucking moronic stoner, to be honest. So it's actually seeing him actually sort of legitimately go for a match and put in some real good work. To me, this is the kind of shit he needs to keep doing. And Thatcher, it makes sense to win. We saw Thatcher get the win with a correct me if I'm wrong here, Carl, but I believe it was a rear naked choke or something along that line, some sort of choke. So we got the submission win. I found it really. I don't know how this, whether it was just me being overly picky, but when Kurt kept lifting Riddle's wrist, it was almost like he was putting it back down for him again as well. Isn't he just meant to let it drop?
Yeah, again, it felt a bit like overworked and overproduced. Like if this was an actual MMA contest, you wouldn't lift someone's fucking arm up like three or four times when he's literally nearly dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah, his face is purple, for fuck's sake.
Exactly. Like, you know what I mean? It felt a bit it felt like, because obviously old school wise, that would be what you would do in like a sleeper hold or whatever, and then Hulk Hogan would, at the third attempt, like Hulk up, whatever. But
you see, even that, like even old school wrestling, they'd lift it and then the arm would just naturally drop. It looked like Kurt was putting it back down again, like he was just making a flap out of his arm. Hey, look, it moves. It was
fly,
weird.
Riddle, fly.
But again, only a minor thing. I just found it a bit weird. But yeah, so we saw Thatcher get the win, which kind of makes sense. I think it was a good way of giving him the sort of push before Riddle fucks off to SmackDown, which apparently he's doing. So all in all, not a bad finish and a really good match. And that's all she wrote for NXT, mate. And again, bar a couple of things that I've been slightly critical on, it was a really good week for NXT for me, to the point that I'm going to give it a 3.
Same. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a different, whole different level of NXT this week to what we normally get. I was invested in pretty much everything that they had on offer. So yeah, really strong show, I think.
See, guys, credit where credit's due. Sometimes we compliment WWE. See,
few and far between, but sometimes.